What's going on, everyone? Welcome to QVO Games. My name is Juan. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it so much. This video is going to be about the games coming to retail the week of November 27th. We're going to have a little bit of bleed into December 1st and 2nd. Keep that in mind when we're covering the games. However, we're going over the week of November 27th, so that includes the 1st and 2nd. We have some pretty cool games coming out this week, and as well as, honestly, additions to the whole season. This whole season, we've had plenty of great games. This year as a whole, right? We're coming in close to the end of the year, honestly, and there's been so many crazy good games have come out. So I am really excited to cover these few games here, and I think some of these might be staples to your collection. Staples to a board game collection usually mean they don't never leave. I have a lot of games that I've played, and a lot of games that I have as well. However, a lot of them are up for grabs, except for maybe a couple that are staple. I think like maybe 5 or 6 games are staples in my collection. I have to recount that number, but I think 5 or 6 are staples and never leaving. However, usually games come and go because new games come out that do better, does whatever that old game did, but better. So that does happen a lot, and I think some of these games might be hitters. Specifically, there's a couple. I'll go over them here. Let's start off the video now with showcasing games. However, before that, quick disclosure. Keep in mind, I'm covering the games coming to retail in the US. That means that these games may have already been released in other regions of the world. Therefore, you may have already seen coverage, a video. You might even own them if you went to Essence Spiel this year. So keep in mind, I'm covering games in the US only. Retail games releasing in the US only. Also keep in mind, the global shipping crisis is still going on. Therefore, there may be delays or shipping with these games. And if a game is moved to a different week or release date is pushed back, I will definitely update you on that new video where the game's releasing and the new week of the video for the game releasing. Keep that in mind. And now that we have that out of the way, let's get these games showcased. Starting off first with, by Renegade Games, coming out November 29th, G.I. Joe Mission Critical. G.I. Joe Mission Critical. This game was on Kickstarter before, and now it's coming to retail. Always good. Like I said, no more FOMO. Have these games come to retail. Do not make things that exclusive. G.I. Joe Mission Critical is going to be implementing the previous game they have called Power Rangers Heroes of the Grid. You're playing as G.I. Joe characters versus a villain. Your whole goal is to defeat the villain and do not basically lose or have your characters deplete in HP. You want to make sure they stay up there. The whole game is going to be just a really simple, straightforward game, which is always good. Simple games are good, easier to table, easier to bring out. However, the one thing here is, the caveat to all this is, I love Power Rangers Heroes of the Grid. I love Power Rangers in general. I love the IP, right? But the thing about the game is that there is so much content. It's a lot of expansions. I mean, I want to say ballparking over 20 expansions. That's a lot of game to buy, right? And if you're someone who likes to have it all and wants to have it all, like me, I typically want to get everything for a game. This can be a really big money pit for you. But G.I. Joe Mission Critical, I'm not saying the game is bad in any way, shape, or form. I'm just saying that sometimes they tend to release, if this game is anything like the releases for Power Rangers, they're going to release a lot of expansions and content for this game. Good and bad. Good, because like I said, that's great. Keeps the game fresh, keeps the game alive and going. That way you can have more things to play and it's not the same game over and over again. Adds the variability we're looking for. However, that's a lot of money to invest into a game. I won't lie to you that I've invested at least a good over $400, $500 on Power Rangers Heroes of the Grid with having all the expansions. That's just a quick thing to note. However, this game's honestly, it's probably going to be a fun game. I played Power Rangers Heroes of the Grid multiple times, and I enjoy it. It's actually a really exciting game to play. Fun, simple, easy, fast, nothing too crazy. It does get a little difficult with the expansions added into it because some of them are supposed to be a little more difficult, give you that challenge. Nothing wrong with that. We all have a good challenge, and when things are too easy, it gets kind of boring. G.I. Joe Mission Critical, this is going to be some of the components here. Great miniatures. If you're a big G.I. Joe fan, then it's definitely going to be a must grab for you. Like I said, all the miniatures and the heroes and such are included with this. They're going to add more and more content like they did with Power Rangers, of course. Your whole thing is you have your cards and you're playing actions, taking turns along with the villain, and you're trying to just defeat the villain, deplete his health as he tries to deplete your health. Well, also his scheme, if it kind of goes over and happens, then you also lose as well. Game's very simple, straightforward. You can learn the game in probably 10 minutes. Setup is also very simple and straightforward as well. However, when you have so many expansions, going through and like organizing these expansions, finding out which one to play can be pretty difficult. That we're not at that point yet, but that might be happening soon in the future. G.I. Joe Mission Critical by Renegade Games. Honestly, it's going to be a good game, especially if you love G.I. Joe. However, it's going to be pretty simple. So if you don't like simple games, don't pick this one up. G.I. Joe Mission Critical by Renegade Games, coming out November 29th. Along with that, we also have another expansion, G.I. Joe Mission Critical Heavy Firepower expansion, which is just going to add some new heroes and some new villains to fight against. They also have G.I. Joe Mission Critical, the Retro Snake Eyes. So this is a new character to play, Retro Snake. Pretty cool little miniature there. Like I said, the miniatures are going to be top tier. I use my Power Rangers. I'm going to use my Power Rangers Heroes of the Grid miniatures for the tabletop RPG eventually in the future. So, and they also do have a tabletop RPG for this as well. Oh, there's one last thing I didn't mention. Now that good thing we're still on G.I. Joe. Apparently, everything you get from this game can also be used when the Power Rangers Heroes of the Grid game. So they're actually interchangeable. Part of something called the Guardian system. So that's actually pretty neat. You can use your G.I. Joe stuff with their Power Ranger stuff. Super cool stuff. Also, the tabletop RPG is the same as well, apparently. You can actually interchange the characters in there and have like a crossover. That's pretty unique. Honestly, you don't see that a lot with any other tabletop RPGs. They're trying to create like a big universe. And that's neat and unique. I hope they kind of take that further and take it as far as you can to make that a better experience for everybody. Haven't tried it myself yet, so I can't really talk about it. Let's keep going, though. Last thing for G.I. Joe is going to be the Critical Vehicle Pack. It just adds some new vehicles, some new firepower cards to use in the game. That's really what it is. G.I. Joe Mission Critical, all this stuff coming out November 29th. So we do have a big one coming up. Wayfarers of the South Tigris by QVO Games, coming out December 1st. Yeah, QVO Games. They are extremely popular, and I experienced my first QVO game with Hadrian's Wall, and I won't lie, I had an amazing time, and I want to play it again and again. I think actually it's right here. I don't know if you can see it on the camera, but it's right behind me. I really enjoyed that game. Wayfarers of the South Tigris is nothing like Hadrian's Wall. However, the art may be similar, but otherwise they play totally different. Wayfarers of the South Tigris is going to be a dice placement, worker placement game, and it's honestly a pretty big strategy heavy game, honestly. You're going to be playing as you're playing as explorers, I know that. And that's like cartographers and astronomers. And you're going to be trying to develop and make your way over to a different location on the map. So, and you're gonna do that by collecting workers. And you're supposed to upgrade your different components and get them up to the speed to then transfer over to different actions and improve those as well. The interesting part about this game is that there's no rounds, right? Like there's no 5 rounds, you're done. And there's not nothing like that. The game ends when a specific end victory is met, and that's when you get farther down in your journal. So as you develop, you can literally stall the end of the game for a very long time and not reach that end goal to not get the game, kind of close out the game. I like games like that, honestly. When you're limited to 5 rounds, that's fine. That's time limitation is interesting. It's pressuring, I guess. It's stressful. I'm saying any other game can't be stressful, but I like the fact that it's open-ended like that, right? If you feel I can end this game now and then get the win or pull off the points, that's kind of unique to me. I like being able to plan that strategy. You're not limited to 4 turns to do everything you want to do. You play and play and play it out until you're ready to end the game. Someone goes and ends the game for you, and then you play it out that way. The strategy is different with games like that, and that's something I appreciate with games that are open-ended on the round and when the game ends. That's what Wayfarers of the South Tigris is doing. I want to show you a little bit more of the components. However, I couldn't find anywhere else. This game also came from Kickstarter and is now coming to retail. But this is kind of the components on the Kickstarter page that I found. They look really, honestly, QVO Games always has very nice components. They're very well done. They have great artwork, and they have a lot of great iconography. Iconography in in QVO Games typically, there's a lot of iconography to study. Not as much as some other games where I feel like it's overwhelming. After you get it, and it all makes sense. The iconography is really well done. Wayfarers of the South Tigris coming out December 1st by QVO Games. Coming up next is going to be 0 to 100 by Hachette and it's going to come out December 1st. This is going to be, I think it's a party game. It's a shorter game. I want to call it a party game. I like it so far. I've read the rules and watched one of their actually really nice, very well done videos that they have. This is it, actually, yeah. This video is very well done. You learn the game. You learn how to play the game in under a minute. Always good. Great for parties. It's small, easy to travel. It looks pretty small. It looks like it's about this big. Yeah, it looks small enough. The game's interesting. You have 3 different teams, and each one of you have 6 different randomly selected cards. You're not supposed to look at the number in the back because they're going to want to use the card eventually and find out the number yourself. So you're going to have a question in the middle. and they're gonna have a question. Excuse me, the question in the middle, and the question in the middle is going to have like there's one that I guess for an example, one of them was how many Disneyland parks are there around the world, and you might know the answer. You're like, oh, it's seven. It's seven different parks. I don't know if that's correct, but it might be 7 different parks, and you have a card that says how many wonders of the world, and that's seven, right? I think it's called the Great Wonders of the World. I'm like in the moment right now, so I can't think about it. The seven great wonders of the world, right? So on the back, you know, okay, my card says seven, but your team can't know what the number is on there, and you know it's seven. So you play the card, and you all flip it over at the same time, and the person closest to the answer gets to win. The person farthest away or gets to kind of discard their card, and the person farthest away gets to pull another card, but not from their section here, 6 cards, from the deck, and you pull it out to the front. The first person to lose other cards or gets rid of other cards is the winner at that point. So there's 3 different teams. It's a party-based game. Honestly, that's really interesting and cool. I think if you're a really big trivia fan, this is a new way to re-implement trivia into like your board game life, and that's actually a unique way to do it. I haven't seen this done yet, or maybe I don't play enough trivia games to begin with. I am horrendous at trivia, if you don't know. I just can't remember little facts like this. It's usually things that I'm really centered on is what I remember. This is going to be 0 to 100 by Hachette Games coming out December 1st. Coming up next, this is one of the games I was talking about that is re-implemented called Mysterium Kids, Captain Echo's Treasure. So, Mysterium Kids, Mysterium for kids. If you haven't played Mysterium before, it's a cooperative game. Someone's a ghost. You give out clues to lead to a specific hint or the victory condition. So in Mysterium Kids, you're playing as the ghost is playing as Captain Echo, but the captain or the ghost, I guess, can't talk. Captain Echo can't talk, so you're giving out clues by giving out little pieces of paper, like little cards that have clues, trying to put them to a location where the treasure's at. And if they find it, you all win together. It's a cooperative game. Game's fun. It's a simple. Mysterium Kids. Mysterium I played. This one's new, of course. It's a fun game. It's very simple, straightforward, and it's going to be a re-implementation. I mentioned this before. It's really good to have more accessibility for games like this. Sometimes maybe Mysterium's a little difficult for older people to play, or for kids to play. So now they have a kids version of it, which I think is a smart idea and a smart move, making games more accessible for everybody. Mysterium Kids, Captain Echo's Treasure, coming out December 2nd. Our last game today is Namiji. Namiji was also on Kickstarter, is now coming to retail. Namiji is also based in the Tokaido universe. This game, Namiji, is coming out December 2nd, and it's by Funforge Games. So, it says right here, after Tokaido, a new journey awaits you. So, after Tokaido, this is based in the same universe. The games, I wouldn't call them similar to Tokaido. It's a little different. It's definitely a little bit more... They both have set collection. The games are fairly similar, but just in a different setting. However, the same thing. You play through the boat, and you're doing your actions, and you're kind of jumping over different people, collecting different animals or different. They had a specific word for them actually here, and it's a better word than I'm using here with just animals. It's not pretty satisfying. It's contemplate magnificent marine species. That's a way better word than I was like. That's way better. Say way better than I do. You're gonna be playing out the game, and I think something cool about playing through the game, and you're going to be taking actions and going through and collecting different space marines. Why am I saying marine animals? The marine animals are going to create a set collection, and you're trying to set collect the whole time. Namiji, honestly, what I like a lot about the game is they have a really good aesthetic when they make like Tokaido. I don't know why, but the aesthetic and the way it goes, it looks nice. I like the way it looks. It's pleasing to the eye when you're playing the game, when you're watching the game play out. So that's a big thing about Tokaido for me was that. Keep in mind though, the game's gonna be fairly simple. However, they're really well loved. I mean, Tokaido itself, I think they sold a lot of copies since they first came out. I don't want to say, I want to say over 1 million at least copies or something like that. They mentioned they have a stat somewhere on their website that I read, and that's a lot of copies to the game. The game became really well loved. Namiji, I don't see it falling short from that. They do, like I said, Funforge does a really good job with these specific games, and they look amazing. This is going to be Namiji coming out December 2nd by Funforge Games. And that's it. Those are the games coming out this week for retail that I could find exact release dates for. Thank you for watching the video. I appreciate it. And if you made it this far into the video, thank you so much. I appreciate that a lot. If you can subscribe or like or even drop a comment, that is extremely helpful just to know what we're doing here is actually good and helpful, and also help grow the channel a little more and get more word out there so we can get these games showcased and helps grow the hobby as well. So I appreciate that. Thank you so much, and I appreciate it for even watching or making this far into the video. If you're going to pick up any of these games or want to pick up any of these games, let me know in the comments. Let me know what you're picking up or what you want to pick up. If you even picked up a different game from a previous video and you're mentioning it to me now, that's fine as well. Let me know, and I'll look forward to hearing back from you. So thank you. Have a good one.